Hey everyone! Today, me and Tete are going to be doing a role play with Tatusya, her character, and my character, Malka. So we're going to be having them go to the museum, and then they're going to be talking about certain things, and this is going to show a lot of aspects of Tatusya's character, especially jealousy and how, she sees other women.
Yes, I'm very excited to explore this. I think Tatusya and Malka will probably open up a very interesting friendship, I hope.
Yes, they will. So, yes, let's have them go inside the museum together.
And this is quite a fascinating museum. It's very unconventional in its layout.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like based on a monastery.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so they're now going inside.
Jogging.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe jogging.
So is this the
Skating.
first time they've met for this role play or what?
For this role play, I would like to say this is the first time they've met ever.
Right. And how did they just randomly decided to I mean they just randomly bumped into each other, right?
I believe they randomly bumped into each other. I think they were appreciating a mutual piece of art, and Tatusya felt compelled to comment on it, and she wanted to see Malka's reaction.
Mm-hmm. Right. So let's see where Tatusya went. Wait, that's not her. Okay, there she is. So I will have
Tatusya.
Malka talk to her, and then she would say, so we're using teenage Malka right now because Malka, the adult version of her, is she has been she is pregnant currently. So that's why I
True.
didn't want to use her right now because if she's pregnant, I think Tatsuya is going to have a very different reaction, isn't she?
I'm afraid she'll have a very different reaction, given Tatusya's past experiences with certain things.
Right. So now they're just talking. They're like, "Oh," she's like, "Hi, Tatsuya." Oh, well, she doesn't know her name yet. Hi. So it
You
seems like
never
we're
know.
looking at the same art. We're looking at a staircase.
Wait a minute. Like
Okay, let's
they're
make them go
they're looking at
inside.
installation art.
Yeah.
Maybe they can look at something inside before we have them look. They can look at the skeleton.
Yeah. Okay, they're inside now.
Okay.
And they're inside this room that's very sci-fi. They see a skeleton inside a jar, viewed together.
Together. Yes.
So apparently they can't go very close. Okay, let's just have them walk there. But here they are
This
looking at
Tatusya
the
skeleton.
skeleton. They don't want to get too close for some reason though.
It's frightening.
Yeah.
Maybe Lex put a sign that says "Do not cross."
Right. So then Malka says, "Wow, it's interesting to see, a museum with these kind of exhibits."
Tatusya says, "Yes, it seems like it's very focused on progress as well as observing human anatomy. That's quite fascinating, don't you think?"
Yes, and she's like, "It seems like it's not actually liquid, but it's made of lacquer. This is just, a simulation of a fake skeleton being put into fake liquids. It's not actually a liquid, and it's not really a skeleton." And she looks at the plaque. It seems like it's made of plastic.
Then Tatusya's like, "It's fascinating how an illusion like that can mimic reality, don't you think?"
Mm-hmm.
And then Tatusya says, "By the way, my name is Tamara, but you could call me Tatusya if you like. What's your name?"
Malka says, "My name is Malka."
It's like, and then Tatusya says, "It's a very lovely name. It has an elegant ring to it. Does it have a meaning?"
Yes, it means queen in Hebrew.
"Oh, that is beautiful," says Tamara. And then Tamara says, "I think my name, some sort of ancient name, I think it means like a palm tree, I think."
I think it's biblical, Malka says.
I think you're right. I think there were two Tamaras in the Bible, I think.
Yes, I think there were, if I recall correctly.
She's like, "You're absolutely right. But still, I think your name is far prettier. It's very regal sounding and I think queen is a beautiful definition for a young woman to have.
And then Malka nods and she's like, "Thank you so much." And she's like, "I like your name too. It's very natural. It feels very, I guess, Old Testament, very graceful, and there's nothing more beautiful than a palm tree."
Tamara's like, never thought of it like that. Thank you very much, Malka. I appreciate the compliment.
Right. And then Malka looks at the skeleton again and she's like, maybe this piece is about life and death and how, we all kind of live in a vacuum, just kind of fooled by our own desires and society's, I guess, propaganda in a way. Society tells us so many things that most of us can never achieve.
Then Tamara says, that's a very interesting way to look at the display. What would you say are the propagandas that you think are being perpetuated to us?
Well, she says, the first one I would say is probably the idea of the American dream.
And Tamara's like, why would you, what makes you say that?
Well, because, the idea of, oh, if you work hard enough, you're going to get everything you want, like, that big house and, a family and everything. But in reality, so many people put so much work into everything, but they get nothing in return or very little. And some people never put any work into their stuff and they get everything.
And then Tamara says, that's so true. I think it applies everywhere. I think that's just the reality of life and society, no matter where you go. And perhaps it's not a healthy idea to think about. And I understand very well. It seems there are meant too many people who work so hard and receive nothing, and then there's people who, like you say, practically do nothing, yet everything is handed to them.
And then Malka says, I know, because I work retail. Well, I mean food, but basically, I worked in food services and it's very difficult, and I mean, it sounds not that difficult, but it is because you have to cater to so many people's desires. And she's like, at that point, it feels like you don't have any desires of your own anymore, or you shouldn't think about your own desires because you're so fixated on serving others and just being
Then,
a cog in the machine.
then Tamara says, I understand. I worked for a long time as a maid before I sort of fell into another profession, but I understand what you mean. You do lose your sense of self when you have to cater to so many people. It's almost like you become an embodiment of service itself.
Right. And then Malka looks at her. So what profession are you in now?
It's like, and then Mara gets a little nervous and he says, "Well, I'm an uh, I'm a nightclub entertainer." He says,
Oh, I
"So,
see. So are you a dancer?
um, yes, I'm quite a dancer. I'm a very vivid dancer, if you know what I mean." She says,
Oh, I see. That's very interesting. Does it pay well?
"It pays, it pays decently. I think what really helps are the tips from appreciative audience members."
Mm-hmm. Right. Shall we move on to the next exhibit, she asks?
That's an excellent idea, says Tamara, eager to change the subject and hoping that Malka won't ask any more questions about her profession.
Right. And they look at the other things in the room. It seems like everything here is off limit because they're not scientists.
Invited Dr. Luther.
What's this? Play game. Hey, you want to play a game? Apparently, you can play a game here.
I says, sure, I would love to play a game. What kind of game is it, Malka?
Incredible sports, apparently.
Incredible sports. And then Mara's thinking, I guess it's like Wii Sports, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, she plays it alone.
So much for playing a game.
I guess Tamara watches her play it.
Mara's watching her play it, and Tamara has no interest in sports because Tamara is not an outdoor person.
You don't have to be outdoor, Malka says. Look, I'm just standing inside.
Sitting inside. And Tamara says, "That's interesting. I think I'd like to try it too. Especially want to play that thing with the polka dot ball, whatever it's called."
The soccer ball, you mean?
Yes, the soccer ball.
So
She's
it
like,
seems like every
"Oh,
sport is here. You have baseball, you have soccer, and you have American football. Because I saw the American football.
American football." And then Mara asks, "What was that thing you were doing with that piece of wood? It was like what is it called? A bat, I guess."
Yes. I was hitting a ball with it.
It's very interesting. So it's like badminton, isn't it?
Yeah, kind of.
Very interesting. Do you like badminton, Malka?
I think it's okay. I haven't played it that many times. Do you like it?
I enjoy it in spring now and then. Maybe we should try to find if there's matches in our park and maybe we could play together sometime.
Yeah, that would be great. Okay, where did Tamara go? Did she
Oh
leave?
my gosh, did she leave?
Yeah.
It just, you know what? I hate to say this, but it just shows how introverted she is.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I stayed out past my time already."
My timer went off. I have to go back into my
My
my little
tomb.
apartment. A tomb, exactly, because her apartment is her tomb.
No, she should be here because I don't have the option to call her, so she should be here. I just don't know where she went in The Sims.
Tamara. Where on earth did she go? Pardon me.
She's so introverted that she's hiding in the washroom, maybe.
Hiding in the washroom, or she's hiding in this library because it reminds her of home.
Oh no, she could be upstairs because there's more
Ooh.
to, yeah. Maybe she's taking, is she sleeping? Is that her? Oh
What?
my god, she's sleeping. Yeah.
This is hysterical that this museum has a bedroom for people.
It does. Because
Only
some
all
Malka's
museums
gonna
came
go
with it.
wake her up.
Oh my gosh. This is what Tamara would do. She would go to. What the heck?
Yeah, she was yeah, she was wearing like something really sexy for bed.
Oh my gosh. It's probably because, I don't know, she's trying to impress Andre.
Yes, but they're gonna look at the statues right now.
Good. And then they'll have a deep conversation. And I just want to say this is so accurate because if Tatusya had to socialize for more than what she could handle, she would just excuse herself and take a nap.
Mm-hmm. Well, it seems like she's exhausted too. They're all tempted to take naps.
Oh my gosh.
Where did Tatusya go? Okay, there she is. Add her to group because she just keeps on disappearing. I can't control where she walks.
Now they're looking at this statue.
But where the hell is Tatusya?
My gosh, she was just there. Did she
And then
go
she
outside?
walked through the wall and disappeared.
Is she on the balcony? Tatusya. Tatushenka, as Andre would say. Tatushenka.
She
Wanna
wants
listen
to
to
listen to Thais.
Yes, that's what she's gonna do. She's gonna go listen to Thais, and she wants to find some new operas.
The hell
So,
did she go? I think she went home. Oh my
ah,
gosh.
Tamara,
And she's probably
Tatushenka is
asleep right now. Yeah, she is asleep. Oh well, let's pretend she's here.
let's just pretend Tatushenka, devushka moya.
Okay, let's just pretend they're both in front of this woman statue.
Oh darn it, Tatusya! I'm gonna.
I know. She's like, it's
Oh,
too
why
late.
Tatusya?
It's 1 2 a.m. She said she had to
Well, that's probably
go.
why she went. That's probably why she went to bed.
Yeah,
Malka's crazy being out this late.
I know. But let's just pretend Tamara's right next to her and they're looking at the statue together.
Okay, that's a good idea.
So they're
And
looking at it, and does Tamara say something first? Because maybe this form of a woman triggers some memories in her. Oh, what the heck.
what the heck? She just walked away. I guess Tamara's going to say, "Hmm, rather unusual how the image of a woman is often portrayed like this. What do you think, Malka?"
Yes, I think, it shows. the effects of commercialization.
And then she says, "Oh, how would you say it's commercialized? Like, do you think it's something that's always been since ancient times?"
Well, not commercialized per se back then, but sort of turned into an idol because people back then didn't understand what sexuality or being a woman was. And I guess a woman was always seen as the other, right? Because of the whole patriarchy in most societies.
She says, "You're right. I guess it's also kind of been seen from very vulnerable standpoint too, because it always seems like a woman is held to different standards, or a woman is considered. She's not held to the standards of men, I don't think. What do you think, Malka?"
Absolutely. There's so many double standards.
And then Tamara's like, "Do you ever feel frustrated that those are still being perpetuated by today?"
I think so.
And and have you noticed that whenever a woman's depicted, it's very different from how a man is? They're always thinking about a woman's beauty or attraction, but they don't think about her intellect or what she's thinking or what she wants to do. But if they ever depict a man, it's always he's doing something heroic or action based or something, like, I don't know, fighting a lion or something.
It's because women were expected to do that. They were expected to just stay at home and have children.
And she says, "Oh, I know." And well, I'm not trying to condemn it or anything, but it's like, don't you ever feel that there's also an impossible standard of beauty forced upon women?
I think so because in traditional societies and even now, women's like main worth, right, was to be a wife for men and men always judge women based on looks, right?
I think you're right. For some women, sometimes it's not always the realm of marriage. Sometimes it's just the realm of being a woman, or maybe to say my profession to be an entertainer. I mean, no one's thinking about the technical difficulties I go through. Most men just, want to see me dance in my heels.
And then Malka looks at her very seriously and she senses that she's suggesting a lot more than she's letting off. So she chooses her words carefully. I see. Yes, I think, especially if you work in entertainment, you have to look a certain way to appeal to people because, they can't know who you really are. In the entertainment industry, it's all about what you can consume.
Then Tamara's like, "I know that very well. I'm really surprised. Not a lot of people know that or even care to think about it. You really hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what it's like. It's all about the consumption of people, and just to consume, consume, never give back, never give thought. And it's just for their own anal pleasure. And it's so ridiculous, and there's such a standard thrust upon that it's just impossible. And what is actually appealing about this? What is appealing about a woman who looks like this? I mean, there's no sense of humanity. It's just a thing of bringing, this carnal banal pleasure to people who are unappreciative."
And Malka realizes that Tetsuzi is probably more than just an entertainer at this point. Because if she was really just a dancer in her high heels, she would not be so bitter about it, I think. She thinks.
And Mara is worried that she's saying too much, but she feels like she's on a roll, so she continues with the final word, and she says, "It's just something that men just endlessly consume and not care about. And if you don't meet a certain standard, everything has to be perfect, then, you're condemned as having faults or vices, as though it's a mark on your own character and your own worth. Don't you think, Malka?"
Malka says, I'm not sure. She says, I think it depends on one's personal experiences, and I haven't had those experiences, but I mean, I know they exist, obviously, and I'm sorry that people have to go through them. But as she continues saying, she's like, I have yet to experience that part of life, but I'd like to think that not every man is like that. And I don't think every man's like that. Only the people who, I guess, go to nightclubs, she says delicately, looking at Tamara.
And Tamara wonders if she has said too much and if Malka can see through her gist. So Tamara tries to cover up her tracks, and she's like, well, I suppose you're right. I mean, yes, men who frequent nightclubs are of a certain character, I guess, but when it boils down to it, all these men are alike because who goes to the nightclubs but every man, anyone from the mayor to the police to even the so-called upstanding citizen man who goes to church on Sunday and has a wife and children. I mean, he's still going to the clubs and throwing money on the stage and or putting $100 bills in G strings.
And then Malka stares at her and says, but how can you say that's everyone? That's some people, not everyone. How about the man who goes to home after work and he just looks at the wall and sighs and realizes how everything is so fake? And he hates everything with spite in his heart.
Then Tamara says bitterly, "Oh, I don't know. Maybe he'll get tired of looking at the walls and want to come at a club and, I don't know, look at me dance in my heels, I guess."
But why would he want to do that? Not everyone has the same personality.
Oh, Tamara, oh, Malka, she says, "I think in the end they're all the same. I have yet to meet a man with character like you're describing."
I know him, she says.
Oh, and Tamara looks a little wounded, like she's lost some sort of common thread with Malka. At first she thought, oh, mutual suffering and loneliness. Now she realizes that Malka does not have this commonality with her, and now she wonders if Malka is not quite a threat, but no longer an ally. And she feels very wounded, but she tries to hide it. She's like, oh, do you know this person? Well, how long have you known him? What's he like?
He's a
Innocently.
childhood friend, and he's someone who just hates everything because he was scorned by society too. He doesn't care about things like nightclubs and women and stuff like that because he feels like they're all pointless. He wants to defy his biology.
Like, how do you know he's just not saying this for a pretentious show? She says.
I know because I have another friend who brought him to the nightclub and he basically screamed at him, and it was interesting, but I mean, maybe, but I can't see him enjoying anything sexual. He's just someone who wants to sabotage himself.
Then Tamara thinks thoughtfully, and she says, wait, you said this man screamed at the other man. It wouldn't happen to be very sour looking man being escorted by a man in a terrible pink suit, would it?
And then she makes a face. How do you know?
Happened at the club the other day, and if I recall, I think the dark haired man was very mad at the pink suited man, and I think he attempted to throw a glass at him.
Oh, that sounds like him.
Like, how interesting. Still, I bet his private life, he's just as salacious as all the other men, she says.
Oh, how do you know? She says, why do you want him to be salacious? Do you have an agenda for him to be salacious? Like you want him to be almost.
No, I don't, she says. I'm just saying, I wouldn't put your ideals in something and then be disappointed because how do you know? You don't really know his inner private life, do you?
And she's like, I wish I did.
You don't, do you?
I hope I do one day.
And she says, how will you be disappointed if what you see doesn't match up with your ideals?
And she's like, then I forget about him. I don't need to think about him. But for now, I think he does meet these ideals for the most part.
She says, you think you're putting too much faith and trust into one thing?
Maybe, but I need something to live for.
She says, suppose so, but why think about it like that? I mean, why not think about what you could do yourself or accomplish yourself as yourself instead of trying to put everything into this supposed friendship with this person you know?
I'm not putting everything into it. Don't read too much into my words. I'm just saying I enjoy my friendship with him.
Well, why should you enjoy friendship? And Tamara starts to get a bit defensive and a little angry.
And then Malka presses on, well, I hope that one day this friendship will blossom and bear fruit.
And Tamara just her teeth start to grit in the back, and she's like, "Yeah, you are very naive and so idealistic in your innocence, aren't you, little Malka?"
And then Malka gets a little defensive. What do you mean?
Well, I mean, saying all this will blossom and it'll turn out beautiful. I mean, how do you know? Like, I mean, how how can you put such a judgment on that? Why not be smart and mature and try to don't set yourself up for disappointment, just expect it. Expect disappointment.
She's like, I'm sick of expecting disappointment. I've been expecting it my whole life.
It's like, well, that's just what life is like, Malka. I'm sorry, but that's just the reality of it. I mean, life isn't a fairy tale. I mean, there's no handsome prince to come and love you or anything. Instead, you're just stuck with the reality that everything is a sham and a deceit, and the only true thing we have is toughening ourselves to endure what's given to us.
And then she kind of sniffs and then she thinks about it. She's like, no, I disagree. She's like, I've seen the fiber of his character since we were 4 years old. And he's a great man. And, even if I can never love him that way because he doesn't allow it, I want to continue being his friend.
And Tamara's like, silly to sing such a sad swan song for someone who won't reciprocate that. I don't think you should carry on this friendship with him. I think he's far too good for him.
And she's like, I want to show him love and concern because I know he has always been so lonely and he's tortured by his own demons.
Then Mara's face starts to twitch at all the mentions of love and care and compassion, and it's like, well, I still think you're investing too much in something that probably won't reciprocate back. You know what they say, don't cast your pearls to swine.
He's not a swine, she would say. He's not like those other people at the nightclub because he didn't even want to be there at the first place.
Well, that's true, but you don't know his private life. How do you know that he doesn't want to be a disgusting, salacious, selfish prick, she says.
Oh, I know he has flaws. He is selfish in many ways, but I think he's a good man, and that's just how I choose to interpret it. Maybe I'll be wrong, but for now, I believe in him.
Like, well, I hate to see you disappointed and sad and betrayed by another man, by a man like this. And I hope you'll take my advice and not put too much into this. I think you should brace for disappointment, Malka.
And then she's like, I already am bracing for it.
And Tamara's like, well, good. I mean, not that it's good that it would happen, but I'm glad that you're prepared for it because I will tell you, I've seen the reality of life, and friendship and compassion don't know if they exist in the way you want it to exist.
And then she just looks at it, looks at the statue again, and looks at Tamara and says, well, we'll see. We'll see whose ideals are proven right, in 30 years, 20 years.
And Tamara is like, oh no, I'll just give it be a month. We'll see if your little prince in shining armor really delivers the goods or not.
And she's like, well, I don't think he would like that description you gave him, but we'll see what happens.
And Tamara's like, right, well, we will make a little bet. I'd like to bet $100. That everything I said comes true, and that everything you built upon is just sadly a ridiculous policy. So I'd like to put $100, and if you don't have anything to bet, I know what you could bet, Malka. Maybe you can bet that you'll get a really nice haircut, and we can just trim away all that pretty little red hair of yours.
And then Malka isn't smiling anymore, and she just looks at her and she's like, I don't know. I don't think that's good. I'm not going to do a bet.
Oh, well, we have to put something.
I'm not participating in this.
And Tamara's like, all right. Well then, let me think. Right, maybe I was being too mean. $100 or your haircut is too much. Then how about the loser has to buy the winner lunch?
Okay.
I suppose that's more reasonable. Although,
Yes.
would it be interesting to see you with short hair?
And then she just glares at her because it just feels very weird for her to say that.
And then Tamara's like, I only meant it because I must admit I am a little jealous of your red hair.
Why?
Well, I think it looks very beautiful, very striking, and it's just naturally beautiful. I don't think you have to spend hours trying to oil and comb it all day, I bet.
And Malka's sensing that Tamara's getting very toxic and she's not sure what to say to her. And she's like, I see.
And I was like, I'm sorry if I became too spiteful. It's just who I am, Malka, and I suppose you're the better person. I think you are. I think you're a person full of kindness and a lot of good qualities. And who knows, maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe this young man of yours will prove himself, and maybe you'll be happy. And maybe you two will be happy because you two are genuinely good people and not a spiteful, nasty little creature like myself.
And then Malka's not sure what to say, but she says, well, to end this, I would say that you're not as spiteful as you think you are, but you may need to look deeper into yourself to think about where you're lacking and why you feel the way you do, because you do feel that you're inferior, don't you?
And then Tamara wants to get defensive, but she decides not to, seeing she's already done enough damage, and she says, maybe maybe in some fields I do. Maybe I just envy people who can be happy and innocent. And maybe that makes me feel inferior. Who knows? I don't know. Maybe I'll find a shrink and see what's wrong with me.
Yes, it's good to have therapy.
You're right. And who knows? I don't know. Maybe I will learn some good qualities from you. I don't know. I that is if we meet again. I'm not sure if you want to meet me again after all the ridiculous things I've said and done.
Well, we'll see. We'll see what fate has in store for us.
I'm very sorry, and I hope that we will meet again and try to curb my sharp tongue next time, I promise.
Right. And then Malka says, see you. And then
She's like,
the end.
have a good day, Malka, and then she walks away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Wow. Yeah, that turned out very poignant, didn't it?
It did, yes. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this. And I think we're going to do a text version of this roleplay as part of the Andre and Joel crossover on Tapas, right?
Yes, yes, we will. I think we will be doing that very, very soon, and hope you guys will enjoy it.